welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm videodiary. As you see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today. I felt like a really weird opening, but I can't be able to retake that, so we're going to go with first take. We're doing it live. Yeah, we'll be vibing out in Animal Crossing per usual. I talked about a little bit yesterday how I wasn't sure if Cult Lamb is going to be a game I played. Actually, apart from watching my friend play it, I watched Norman Knight play like first few hours of it. I'm going back and forth because I kind of like parts of it. I think I like the social management part of it, I suppose, of the game, like building up resources, building up a colony, of that sort of thing. And the roguelike element is sort of like I could take it or leave it. I don't know, genuinely, if it's a game I'm going to pick up or not and play, because I love the aesthetics of it so much, and I'm really tempted, but I don't know. I think I just need one other thing to really push me to the draw of it. But for now, we'll sort of vibe in Animal Crossing. So hello everyone, right now in Fawnhallow, it's 3:20 PM on Monday, August 15th, 2022. It's raining in Animal Crossing. It's meant to be raining today in the UK, at least sort of in my area. Let me check the weather app, see how close it is. How close it is to actually meant to be raining. That's not a sentence, but you know what I mean. Whoa. Isn't me or does a Google frog look a little bit different? It looks like a kind of more bluish green, a bit more of a teal now than a pure green. Alright, 8 o'clock. But it was a 60% chance of precipitation tonight, but we have a thunderstorm going on at Fawnhollow. Still surprisingly hot here in the UK. That's just, the new norm, I suppose, now, so it's the thing to get used to, unfortunately. But, yeah, what else can we talk about today? Just trying to think what's happened recently. I recorded some Steven Sausage Roll today. I was going to record 2 episodes. I recorded 1 episode, and I was like, no. I can tell I'm not in that recording mood. I'm not in it at the stage where I'm going to be able to have a conversational flow or recording. I'm just not up to it today. And some other days, I record anyway, and it turns out mostly fine. But today I was like, I got a big enough backlog. I don't need to randomly record this episode. I'll just record tomorrow or something. Not like 3 episodes. I don't really know. Sometimes you're just not up to it. But I have just remembered that I haven't actually started uploading it, so we might as well start uploading it now. I'm going to set the metadata of it now before I don't know what, during the Animal Crossing loading screens. What's up, Audie? What are you thinking up? You're thinking about moving? No, you're saying you want to change it from saying Yas. I like the one you got. I think Yas is great. I think it's very definitively you, Audie. So we'll sort of stick with it. And we are going to go to Happy on Paradise. Not Happy on Paradise. That was yesterday. We're going to go to not Captain's Island. What's it called? Arby's Island. There we go. Yeah, what should we talk about today, though? Not really sure. Can I think about something? Particularly off the top of my head, which I'm like, oh yeah, I want to talk about that. Just like, oh yeah, but man, this has really been on my mind. I've just been like, oh man, this is all I can think about in the past few days. I don't really think I have something quite that thought consuming. I mean, I don't think many things are quite that thought consuming. Well, okay, that's not true. I can certainly think of some things, but they're much more sort of life defining events, I think, compared to other situations, things like where your whole world is like shaken and turned upside down, just like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and whatever day he had to go ship off to that. That's not really how language works. Okay, what episode is this meant to come on? 5,000 hours of watch time. There we go. Let's see. August 23rd is when that one's coming out, so this one will come out on August 26th. So we got like almost a 2-week backlog now, which is good. Built up from nothing. Mainly like immediately after Art Fight, didn't have anything, and I need to build it up a bit more, I would personally say, but that's okay, we're not in a rush, because I will be taking like a holiday, somewhere towards the end of September, so you don't need to worry about that entirely. Until then, well, only really I need to worry about it, I suppose. So that's sort of neither here nor there in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I don't think I have anything to even put in storage. Why am I even talking to you like this? Oh, yeah, I guess I do have a few things here and there. I don't know. What should we talk about? I know Cult Lamb. I don't really want to talk about Cult Lamb because I'm just like, I haven't even played it. I've only seen bits and pieces of it. I don't want to spoil it. It's also a pretty new game. I could talk a bit about Anacute. Like I expanded upon it a little bit on Saturdays. So 2 days ago, the Happy in Paradise episode, I talked a little bit near the beginning, where I was sort of just like, I'm not sure if I continue the series or not. That's not really interesting to talk about. I want to talk about something exciting. Well, not exciting necessarily, but just like engaging enough where I'm just like, oh, that's what's to talk about. You might be like, how's that VTuber avatar coming along? I think it's coming along fine. Maybe I should post another teaser on my Twitter. I forgot how much of it I've done. I've the sketch, rough sketch done, refined sketch done, line up for a decent amount of it's done, because of course you had to build it all up in different sort of puppet pieces, which I only know about because of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic and like behind the scenes and that sort of thing. There's a really cool YouTuber who broke down how like things are animated using vector art and that. So you know I'm getting there. I've drawn all the face parts and I'm starting to do the clothes. So I don't know, that's happening, I suppose. That's not very interesting. What else can we talk about? Let's think. I don't really know what to talk about. I don't think I have anything particularly in my mind, which I'm just like, this is something I should bring up. I'm also just like looking around my room for inspiration. Maybe I've got like an interesting story I can tell about something. Like hair clips. That's not very interesting, I'm not gonna lie. Hairbrushes. Deodorant. That's, again, not very interesting things to talk about. These are sort of just like household essentials. Makeup. You don't really want to know about my makeup, I don't think. I'm not even a makeup expert or makeup guru. There's a whiteboard over there, which I haven't particularly used for a while. Actually, there was this conversation I saw on the maths subreddit about if you prefer to use, you know, because it's a really popular thing in the maths community, at least, to use blackboards for whatever reason. I'm not sure why necessarily blackboards got so much love compared to like whiteboards or like perspex sheets or whatever. But it is a thing which people love to use, and people have told me it's because they like the feel of like chalk on blackboard, and especially there's like this Japanese chalk. I can't remember what on earth it's called, but you can search it, which the mathematicians go absolutely insane over. And there's also like I think it was during my uni time there was a bit of a scare, being like, oh, is this if a company's going to stop making chalk or something? And all the mathematicians were like, what? And they stocked up on like huge amounts of boxes of it. And then it turns out they continued making chalk anyway, because they were like, oh, turns out, you know. A lot of people still kind of want this chalk or whatever. But yeah, this might be a little bit like sort of sacrilegious in the mathematical community. I kind of like whiteboards more than blackboards. I'm going to be honest. I find them more convenient. And because, you know, part of the reason people like blackboards, I think, is because of a haptic feedback or whatever. Well, it's not really haptic, I suppose, because it's not automatic. But the feedback you get when you're drawing with chalk on like a rougher surface, you can sort of feel like the mini vibrations of the chalk as you bring it across the blackboard. It's like satisfying to a certain degree. And the reason I do like chalk, actually, like I don't hate chalk or blackboards, is there's this really cool thing I saw ages ago where people basically like, you can get like blackboard paint or whatever, or maybe it's blackboard wallpaper, I can't really remember, where you can turn an entire wall into a blackboard, and you just get chalk and you sort of like you can draw on it like that. It's sort of just like oh, you ever wanted to work something out? Well, your entire wall is your canvas, and now you can, you know, work on whatever you want. The thing I particularly dislike about blackboards, right, is not, I don't mind that feel. People talk about nails on a chalkboard as like an absolute terrible sound, which makes people just sort of like go ah, which, you know, I'm not gonna be like, oh man, that's my jam, and I'm gonna listen to it like 24/7. But it is a sort of thing where it is annoying to listen to nails on a chalkboard, but I don't hate it that much. If you do it, I'll just be like, would you mind stopping that? Or if like it happens automatically, I'm not gonna go like ah, I'm just gonna be like, oh, Gavin. But whiteboards, you know, they just don't have that, I suppose, like that downside. Like, I don't want that sort of like rough texture when I'm drawing on a chalkboard, and like when I'm trying to write something out. And I will admit that it is a bit satisfying when you have a particularly smooth chalk to hear the noise going like, that's not really a chalk noise on blackboard, but you know the noise if you've ever heard a blackboard in real life. I just like the feel of a whiteboard and a dry eraser pen way better. Like, the way it sort of just glides over the top of a whiteboard feels much more satisfying to me. I think that's partly, but, you know, I tend to like things being smooth rather than rough and bumpy, necessarily, but I don't know really if it's that strong a correlation. I just think whiteboards are nicer. And it's the biggest thing as well, is blackboards don't clean all that well, you know? And I think this might be the bigger reason. Whiteboards, you get your whiteboard eraser, woof, just pass it over the top of whiteboard and back and forth a little bit. It's completely erased, it's completely gone. The whiteboard is as good as new. The blackboard though, you get your blackboard duster, you rub it on top of it, and it sort of just like not cakes in, but like rubs the chalk further into the blackboard itself, sort of discolouring it, which is like, alright, I guess, but like, I mean, you can kind of clean it, but what you're meant to do is you're meant to do like completely clean the blackboard every so often or something. But I was like, why would I do that when I can just have a smooth whiteboard which cleans itself really well? Well, not cleans itself, but cleans off really well. But then there's like a whole other like third leg in the argument, a third side of a triangle, which you might not even be aware of, is the fact that some people really like things like perspex sheets or like windows, you know, just like completely clear stuff to work on. And I remember back in university, one of my friends who lived in like the same sort of building as me, he would use his windows as like a whiteboard. He got like these dry erase pens, and then like when he wanted to work stuff out, he would like write on the windows as if it was a whiteboard. And I don't know, to a certain degree, you know, when I first heard about it, I was like, that sounds like a really cool idea. And the second thing, I was like, that sounds like a real pain to clean, is one thing. But I guess if you don't clean it that often, it's not really that big a deal. And it probably isn't that big a deal to clean, because the thing with dry erase markers is the fact that you can erase them, well, when they dry, you can erase them really easily. But even if they don't erase that easily, you can get a little bit of like a weak alcohol or whatever, and it rubs off incredibly well. But I think a bigger thing is it's kind of annoying, like, writing on like a clear background, I suppose, because it kind of, for one, it depends how busy the background is behind it, I think. And a lot of cases with windows, at least in windows in my accommodation in the university, is that it faced like the sun like directly came in through the window like all the time. So it's sort of like was incredibly inconvenient, is probably what I'd say. Like you're trying to, I just imagine you sort of like trying to write something on a window and being like, the light's shining in my eyes, I can't see anything properly. Or it's just completely like busy. It's like, you want to use different colours. So it's like, but you can't use green. The thing with whiteboards is white and black, and blackboards is white and black, but very neutral colours. You know, it's very bright or very dark. So you can either use very dark or very bright colours, and it'll be kind of fine. But the window is like, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever's going on outside. Like, if it's nighttime and you're trying to work on your window whiteboard, it's like, hope you don't use a dark colour dry erase pen, otherwise you won't be able to see it. But if it's like the middle of the day, it's going to be like, you're quite bright colour and like doesn't show up very well. Like, it feels gimmicky to me, is what I say. But I'm not going to lie, it has a very cool impression as well, you know. Like, I've seen like buildings and like offices or whatever where they have like, not very frequently, mind you, where they have like just like a clear panel or whatever for the whiteboard business that they're doing. Not whiteboard business, it really makes no sense. Which they treat as a whiteboard, and it's kind of cool, like seeing someone write on it and then being able to see from the other side. I guess I guess the best way I can describe it is it's novel. But at the end of the day, I really would just prefer whiteboard. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Like, I think about it because Blackboards were just like I loved or whatever in the maths community. I don't know necessarily why. And I know you can do some cool things with it. Like I can't remember that lecturer in America or whatever. He does a really like nice circles, and then like he's got a way of like drawing these dotted lines by just like holding the chalk at the right angle. That's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. All my lectures were basically on, actually not all my lectures. Like I would say 95% of my lectures were on blackboards, except for this one professor who really liked using perspex sheets and using an overhead projector. I don't know why necessarily. I thought it was kind of a worst of all worlds, the overhead projector. And I guess, to be fair, I guess it was easier for him because he can just like write down like he was writing on a desk. So that was pretty convenient. But it was also actually quite convenient because he could upload those slides or whatever to the internet very easy. He just like brings them home and scans them. He doesn't need to like erase them in the middle. Not that really matters nowadays because people, you know, and all the students, we all had phones, so he's like, you're missing some part of a whiteboard or blackboard. Just take a picture of it, easy peasy. Yeah, I don't know, but there were no whiteboards. But, you know, maths community, they love their blackboards. But they really love their blackboards and chalk. And you know, I guess I'm just sort of like the odd sheep in that flock. I'm just not on board with it. I'm much more on board with whiteboards. And I think I was because my another one of my friends she lived also in the same building. At some point she decided to buy like a massive whiteboard, like a massive like teacher's whiteboard that you see like in primary schools, secondary schools or whatever. And I was like, that's a really cool idea. I wonder if I should get that. But then I was like, I don't really know. I'm not sure if I use it all that often. I got a mini whiteboard, to be fair, just on my windowsill over there. It's like, I'd guess it's about A3 paper size, but I don't really know. She used it all the time, I think, but often I'd go when I visit her room and I'd just sort of like doodle something. And I remember when it came to like sort of like end of years, when it came to a time where we were going to be graduating and all that, I just kept like going in and like doodling, like with her permission, of course. Like I remember at one point I forgot what the first thing I doodled was. I doodled like a big phoenix or something, and I was like, it's the goddess of luck or something. Maybe it's Phoenix bring you luck in your exams. And then I did another one. It was like a dragon, and I was like, this one's the god of time. No, the god of justice. I can't remember what I did. I don't know. I just did some very arbitrary things. And then I drew an otter, and you're like, this is the goddess of love. I don't know what on earth I was doing, but just like fun little doodles. I might even have a picture of it still. And I found that pretty fun. Just going around, you know, having an idea and doodling it on whiteboard. As I understand it, that's kind of how like some creative industries end up working. Except if we don't have it as a whiteboard, we have like it as a pinboard. So we have like corkboards or whatever. People do like scrap doodles or whatever. Oh, I probably should have read this conversation. So it seems like Apollo was not very good at building a balcony, is all I got from that. But they have like corkboards where they like do sketches and doodles or whatever ideas, and just like pin it to a corkboard. It's like an idea board. I suppose like the blackboard's sort of like the mathematical equivalent. You just sort of make notes about sort of things you need to learn or whatever, and then you can see it every single time you like wake up and be like, oh yeah, that's important. Yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say. Kind of lost my train of thought. I don't know. I just think whiteboards are nicer. You might have also a disagreement about me like, oh, whiteboards, you know, what if someone accidentally uses a Sharpie on them? Oh, okay, well, to be fair, you can actually get rid of Sharpies very easily on these whiteboards. If you draw over the top with like a dry erase or alcohol-based marker, then you can erase both of them in one fell sweep. Or just like the long and short is alcohol clears most sort of like ink-based things anyway, I believe. I don't remember the exact mix or the exact like compounds or types of alcohol you should use, so you should probably look it up before you sort of rely on me. I think it's propanol, but I'm not really sure. Maybe it's isopropyl. Isopropyl, of course, being a 4-carbon chain alcohol, you know. It's got like 3, it makes a T-shape, basically. It's a Tetris T-shape of an alcohol. I still remember my chemistry. No, wait, hold on, isopropyl. No, that doesn't make sense. I'm thinking methylpropyl. Because I remember that because it came up in a chemistry exam once where we had to name these like polymer chains. No, not polymers. That's not a polymer. These hydrocarbon, well, organic compounds. Inorganic compounds? No, organic compounds. And one of them was exactly that. It was methylpropanol, if I remember. Except for I was just like, I don't know how to name this. Because at the time we only knew things like methanol, ethanol, propanol, butanol, pentanol. And then it goes up in like penta, hepta, what was it, septa? No, I think it's hepta, octanol, yeah, etc. And I remember we got to that one, 3 hydrocarbons, and one of them jumping off the middle. I can't remember what I named it. I think I called it methylpropanol or something as a guess, because I was like, I don't know what to do that. Oh, no, you know what? I think I did methyl. I was actually really close. I did methylbutanol, I think. Because I was like, I've heard this methyl prefix before. Maybe this is what it's used for. But I thought you had to count the total amount of hydrocarbons. But no, I remember my teacher being like, no, it's actually called 2-methyl. Well, actually, I guess you wouldn't need the 2 because it's kind of like, well, where else could a methyl part go? Actually, no, that's not true. Because it could be 3-methylpropanol. Is that possible? I think that's possible. No, that's not possible. No, it is possible. Is it? Yeah, no, okay, it is possible. I think. Hold on. I'm going to use my Google. 2-methylpropanol. We should have a chemistry lesson at some point. Oh, it's got isobutanol. Oh, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, iso means it's the isomer, right, of it. So isobutanol means it's a different rearrangement of butanol, and I think the only butanol rearrangement. Wait, is 3-methylpropanol possible? Why is 3-methylpropanol not possible? It should be possible, shouldn't it? As just theoretically. You can remove one of these hydrogens and put nothing on it. 2-methyl-1-pro. What? Doesn't butanol have more isomers than this? Maybe it's not stable. I don't really know. Maybe it's a reaction which can't happen. Because I do have a memory of it can't like react on the carbon that the oxygen was connected to, but I don't remember why. I don't really know. Well, either way, it seems like it's not possible. So, hello, Rowan. I know we're talking about whiteboards and perspex. They're not got perspex sheets. What are they called? Are they called perspex sheets? I can't remember. The overhead projectors. It was very interesting to see because I remember those overhead projectors were, just to sort of give a trip back to memory lane in primary school was when the changes started to happen. Is those overhead projectors were popular, at least in primary school, when I was up to like reception-ish age, I think. And they were still there was a bit of overlap between them using overhead projectors and them using whiteboards, at least in my primary school. I think they were a bit late to get whiteboards to other things, but there was sort of like in assembly they would use whatchamacallit, the overhead projectors, and then like in lessons sometimes they use whiteboards depending on if a classroom had a whiteboard or whatnot. But then I remember, like, towards the end of my primary school education, they started bringing in smartboards. And I remember we had... The first place I got a smartboard, was the IT room, which was strange because I don't think it was really used much for its purpose, but I guess it was more like experimentation. And then it was like, they started at the lower years, started getting smart whiteboards throughout the years. You know, it started like reception year 1 got one, then year 2 got one, then year 3 got it. I think I was in year 5 at the time. And by the time it finally caught up to me, I was in year 6. When maybe I was in year 5 as well. I can't remember. Like, I remember having some experience using the smart whiteboards. I was much younger. But year 6 is when I remember it sort of like most clearly. Maybe that's just because it's the most recent memory. I don't really know. What were we doing like, mission-wise? I don't think I even checked this today. Hit rocks, chop wood, exercise. Okay, can do. The biggest memory I always have is the fact that you needed to calibrate those things really, really often. You calibrated it by like you put it into calibration settings or what have you, and then like the teacher would like grab a pen, and it's basically if you calibrated a Nintendo DS, it's exactly that. Oh, hello, Fauna. You'd get like these but there would be like a grid of like a 4x3 grid, and the target would appear in one of the grids, like from the top left all the way, and it goes down. And goes down the column and then across the rows in that order. And the teacher would get the sort of interactive pen and like press in the middle of them each time it appears. All I remember is you had to do that so often. But I remember talking to the teachers about it. I'm a year 6 teacher at the time, being like, yeah, it's a bit of a nuisance or whatever, just to make sure it like does not get misaligned, because where they get misaligned, like the cursor and where you'd hold the button, so commonly that I remember the teachers just like starting to write out like a maths equation and then realising it's been completely misaligned and then having to sort of calibrate it. But for whatever reason, when you're a primary school kid, when you see that calibration happening, you're like, whoa, this is the most exciting thing which could possibly be happening at this moment. So when it happens, you're like, you know, you want the golden experience of being able to be the one chosen to do the calibration itself, which, you know, when you're a kid, you're just like, wow, this is such an honour. But of course, you know, looking back on an adult experience, with adult eyes, you're like, that teacher probably just got really sick of using that technology and just like, oh, you know, the kids seem really excited to do it. As long as they do a good enough job, I think that's fine. I'd imagine now the smart whiteboard technology is significantly better. I just remember it in my head, like it's so distinctive to me because it would have like a little tray in front with like the 4 boards, the 4 pens it's got, and then this really distinctive like eraser it has. It's like a black circle, I suppose, with like a sort of like felt thing on the top, which you use to like erase all the stuff on the board. I don't know how to describe it. Let's see if smart whiteboards look different now. Smart whiteboards. Surely one like generation 6 or something by them now, because that was like generation 1, I think. Smartboard, interactive whiteboard. No, it's not that one. It's got like a round thing. That's just like a TV. That one's just like a monitor, like a touchscreen TV. That one looks really cool. They look far more advanced now. This is 2 different erasers. What on earth? No, I just remember the erasers were these like circular things. They weren't like these rectangular ones. I don't know if I can find a picture. Maybe it's like school smart whiteboard. Maybe they're called interactive whiteboards. I don't know what they're called. It might be called interactive whiteboards. Let's see. School interactive whiteboards. Ah, there we go. This is like for primary school nostalgia. They're looking a lot smaller than I remember. Oh yeah, and you had to have a projector to actually set up with them in the first place. Otherwise you couldn't actually use them, right? It was so just like, I don't know. I always got the impression that the teachers didn't really like using them, but the technology was just sort of like, oh, you know, that's what the school decided to invest itself into, which is fair enough to a certain degree, you know. The whole point of this new technology, I suppose, is someone's eventually got to use it for consumers, so, you know, you can get feedback and it can eventually be improved for wide public consumption or whatever. So someone's basically got to be the first adopters of it in the public, yeah? I don't know, I went, yay. I went, yeah, right? That's really aggressive, I apologise. It is a bit nostalgic looking at these. In secondary school, they were a lot more common in secondary school, but they were a lot more, they were a lot better by then. Or at least maybe our secondary school had a bigger budget to be able to afford more impressive secondary, not secondary school, interactive whiteboards. Because I very, very rarely remember our teachers ever having to sort of like recorrect them or anything. But I'm just trying to think, because most of the maths teachers use whiteboards, I think. Just normal whiteboards, right? Oh, you know what happened? I remember one of my my teacher for A level at least. He had like a whiteboard cupboard. It was like a smart board or like interactive board inside a cupboard, and then like the doors were whiteboards. And he'd use the whiteboards. You know, when he needed whiteboards, you can open up and they'd be double-sided. It's very exciting, I suppose. Some people just use interactive whiteboard. I remember I think my GCSE teacher used just his interactive whiteboards and what have you. I'm trying to think about my other subjects. Because I legitimately, it's been so long, I'm not sure I can remember all that well. I think most of the classrooms had interactive whiteboards now I think about it. I'm trying to think, okay. It's really hard to picture. Almost every classroom had a projector on the wall, and they probably, if they didn't have an interactive whiteboard, they'd have a normal whiteboard there. It's actually surprisingly difficult to remember if they had interactive or normal whiteboards. I feel like most of them were I feel like most of the maths ones were strangely interactive whiteboards. I don't think the English ones were. Okay, I'm trying to think my GCSEs. My French teacher definitely had an interactive whiteboard. I remember that. History. Was that an interactive whiteboard? I don't think so. I don't think it was. I think it was just normal whiteboard and whiteboard plus projector. Geography. I don't really remember. Electronics was definitely just a whiteboard and a projector, I think. Which is you might find ironic, I suppose, seeing as they're more of the tech forward ones. But I mean, electronics is more like sort of like traditional technology, using like microchips and that sort of thing, rather than the interactive ones. Because I'm going to be honest, the interactive whiteboards weren't that amazing, but probably really good now, I'd imagine, because technology has improved by quite a lot. But you know, when they were first just being introduced, they weren't particularly consistent all the time, is probably how I describe it. I'm actually having like, I'm not having like a crisis or anything, but I'm sort of just like, I really can't remember anymore what sort of whiteboards our school had. I think most of them were interactive. I don't think the English ones are interactive whiteboards though. I feel like those were just normal whiteboards and it was just a projector. I think that was most of them though. I don't know, because I remember our school got like big upgrades or whatever by the time I left. Like I remember the IT classrooms we used to have were just like literally just rows of computers. And then I remember like I was doing a tour in sixth form to show like new prospective like students or whatever the facilities, and one of them being showing the IT rooms, and I remember walking to IT room and being like, whoa, our IT room looks amazing now. Like they had set up there like multi-monitor setups and everything. They had like Macs as well, and I was like, what on earth's going on? Like iMacs, I mean. I was like, what on earth happened? When do our IT rooms get so awesome? And why do we never get this facility? That's the one thing I think was a bit disappointing, I suppose, back for secondary school. Was our school, secondary school, IT like lessons or whatever were not very comprehensive. I must have told this story before, but back in year 7, like we were part of an experimental thing where we're like, let's teach IT, but it's going to be taught in a different language. So we learned IT in French. I don't think, I'm not sure if it continued past our class, because I'm going to be honest, we didn't learn much French, nor did we learn much IT. Like, what do I remember from French, from my French IT lessons? I remember l'ordinateur, and le nom de passe, and sous and ce, as in, like, on and under. But I think it might be the only French words I learned. Most of it I learned in French, in French class rather than IT class. And what did I learn IT-wise? Well, I learned things I already knew how to use, like how to use Microsoft Word. Already knew how to use that. I legit don't even remember what we did in those IT lessons. Anyways, I feel like I have a memory that they actually did introduce it to like later years, but I think they introduced it probably a bit smarter or something, because that did not work for our year. I'll certainly say that. Well, I learned that like other classes got to do things like they got to like play with Scratch and that sort of thing. We were just here like using Microsoft Word. Oh well. La passe est passé, as they say. So, for now, we're going to round off this episode here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join me, Dear Darling Discord. Follow me on Twitter down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So, until next time, bye-bye for now.